I'm Ava Laura.
And I'm Jessica.
And this is Black Women Leave America podcast, where we highlight holistic wellness, travel, mental health, and self-care through traveling outside of America to reconnect and rediscover who you are. It's time for us to leave any condition that disrupts our peace. Black Women Leave America opens your eyes and explores new ways of living, but more importantly, new ways of being. Because sometimes you have to leave in order to find yourself. Kind of figure out next steps into something else that I may want to do.
Absolutely. And one of the questions that I incorporate into some of my
Hey everyone, this is Black Women Leave America podcast, where sometimes you have to leave in order to find yourself. I'm your host, Ava Laura, and this is my amazing co-host.
I'm Jessica. Thanks for listening, y'all.
Do y'all notice, right? I'm always energetic, and she comes on, she's like, I'm Jessica.
No, I was listening to her podcast. I was like, why do I sound like that? I don't know. You know how you say your own name and you just, I don't know. It's weird when you say your own name. Anyway,
that's
okay,
the balance.
I'm
That's
Jessica.
Yay! Oh, and today we're excited. We have another phenomenal guest, Miss Marschelle. We are really excited for you to tell your story. So she is in Egypt, and I'm sure Egypt is probably on everybody's bucket list if you have not already been. And so you're going to find out about what it's like living there and what prompted her to move there. Marschelle, how are you today?
I am great. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for being here. And we have known each other off and on for many, many years. And I think you were here and then all of a sudden you were gone. Like that just seems how it is. Like you don't even know. People just leave and you don't even know. But tell our viewers and our listeners a little bit about you and your story and how you found yourself in Egypt.
Okay, well, let's see. So a little bit about me. Single woman from Nashville, Tennessee, born and raised, and had just kind of lived really all over the country. I've lived in like 9 different states for work and for school. And a few years ago, probably about 9 years ago now, I was working in corporate America and I was just really burned out, just nothing challenged me anymore. And I decided to start a women's social group. And the women decided that they wanted to travel. And so we kind of tapped into that a little bit and started traveling around the world. And I just happened to be, one of the trips we were going to was in Egypt. And the very first day when I landed, I was like, this is something very familiar to me. It felt like home to me. And I continued to go back and just finally decided to move after a few experiences of being here.
Wow. So before then, so that was your first time there in Egypt?
From the very first time. And I came back 3 times in 1 year.
Wow. So what was it, do you think that really like just drew you in?
You know what? It was just the atmosphere, to be very honest with you. When I stepped off the plane and we got outside the airport, the sun was shining, first of all, which had me at, the gate. So that was something exciting. And then I saw people walking everywhere. And I had always said to myself, I was diagnosed in 2019 with a condition called lymphedema, which is a swelling of anywhere in your body. And I really decided that I really wanted to go somewhere where I could walk, because walking keeps the fluid moving in your body. And it also helps you to maintain a proper weight, because I had really gained a lot of weight. And so one of my motivations was just being in a place that was very walkable, and everybody was walking. Like I turned around, and every city we would go to in Egypt, they have this term, walk like an Egyptian. And everybody was walking. And I was like, this is so me. Then also the women here wear long dresses. Just because of their faith. And I thought, well, this will help cover up my swollen ankles that I have all the time. So just a culmination of things. It checked off a lot of things on my bucket list, of many more than that. But that was the thing that got me first, was everybody was walking and the sun was shining. And those were two things that had me.
That's
I
pretty
love that.
cool. That is so cool. I didn't know that walk like an Egyptian was a real thing though. I totally thought it was just a song. Like, because when you said, I'm like, oh yeah. Oh no,
Yeah.
you mean they really actually do it.
Yeah, they walk everywhere. Yeah, it's a very walkable country.
Before then, had you thought of leaving? So you were in Tennessee at the time, or had you thought about leaving Tennessee or even leaving the US?
Well, actually, I wasn't in Tennessee at that time. At that time, I was living in Atlanta.
Okay.
That was my second time living in Atlanta. And yes, it's so funny now that a lot of the women that traveled with me in my travel group would say to me, I talked to a lady the other day out of Houston, and she goes, "You know what? When we went to Ghana, you said that you were going to leave the country." She goes, "And you really did it." And it's so interesting how so many women come back to me and say, "You said you were going to leave the country." I always thought I'd go to Ghana or Nigeria or somewhere in West Africa because I love West African food. But Egypt was nowhere on my radar screen, to be
Wow.
very honest. But it's a very something very spiritual about being in Egypt to me, and other people who come here, and just different things that I read and blogs and things on YouTube. I hear people say the same thing. It's like, okay, so this just wasn't my feeling. Like, people get this whole, the energy here is different, and a very spiritual place. So that was really the thing that's like, it had good internet, decent internet. I won't say good internet. It had decent internet. I was looking for a place that had low crime. I had really gotten tired of, when Obama was elected. I mean, I'm sure we all saw the atmosphere of the country change,
Yeah.
right? And I found myself angry a lot. I found myself biting my tongue a lot, wanting to say different things to people. I lived outside of Atlanta at the time in a predominantly white neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
And I would go to the grocery store and people would just look at you with such disdain and roll their eyes like, okay, you just automatically assume that I'm Democrat, right? And so it was just like, I was just done. I knew I was going to pop if I did not leave. And so I wasn't really like saying, okay, I'm going to leave now.
Mm-hmm.
But when I came to Egypt and I saw it, and then we came back with another group, and then we came back with another group. And then one of the people that I met here said, well, why don't you just come back one time by yourself and see if you really like it? So I came back and I stayed for a month, because that's how long your visa lasts, is for a month, a tourist visa. And so I did that, and I was like, oh my God, yes, this is so me. So here I am. It's been 3 years this month, actually, and I
Oh,
love
awesome.
it here.
Happy
Yeah,
3-year
I love it. Thank
anniversary.
you. Thank you so much. I love it here. I really do. The people are amazing. I've been in 35 different countries, and I have never seen hospitality like the Egyptian people show you hospitality. It's a beautiful thing to hear someone, you go walking down the street, someone say, "Hey sister," or "Hey cousin." You see little kids that walk up to you and they go, they don't know I've been here for a long time. They go, "Oh, welcome to Egypt." It's so sweet to
Mhm.
hear. Just everybody welcomes you here. It's such a great experience.
I love that. Because we talk a lot about, whether you're planning to do it or whether it kind of just happens, right? You're inspired. And it sounds like for you, it was one of those things that you kind of put out there and really
Mhm.
kind of forgot about, but it manifested. It was the right
Yeah, I
time.
didn't really forget about it. It's just I wasn't really at that point to say, okay, I'm ready. But once I came and I stayed for that month, 6 weeks later, I was living here.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
6 weeks later.
She
It
worked
was home.
fast, y'all. You really were
Yeah,
ready.
yeah, there were no encumbrances for me, right? Like, I was living in a rental house outside of Atlanta, and one of the other things that motivated me was my house payment was $2,000 a month, and because
In
I
Atlanta?
travel, well, it's yeah. I mean, it depends on how you want to live, right? uh, being that I travel with my travel group, I wasn't there at least 10 days out of the month, sometimes 15. And I was like, why am I paying $2,000 plus other expenses? You have your car and your insurance and regular monthly bills. And I was like, yeah, it really doesn't make any sense. And I tell people all the time, had I still lived in America during the pandemic, which I did not, of course, come back to America for, I probably would have been homeless, to be very honest. But the cost of living was so affordable here that it was not even an issue.
So you actually left before everything hit the fan. You were out before and did not bother to come back.
Luckily. Yeah, no, you know what? When Trump made the announcement, if you're outside of the country, you need to come back or you won't be able to get back in. I thought, I think I'm going to stay here. I think I'm just going to stay here. And every time I watched the news and I saw how horrible the pandemic was here or there in the USA, I was so happy I made that decision, because the coronavirus was okay here. I mean, we had cases, and unfortunately, we had more deaths from the little people that we had. But the healthcare system here is not America. So when I looked at that, I still made the determination to stay here. It was like, no, I don't want to be required to take any vaccines. I don't want to be, required to do anything like that. So I made the decision to stay here, and they closed the country down, and it worked out very well. I mean, it lasted a little bit, but the way they handled it was Egypt did a very good job of handling the pandemic.
So no vaccine.
Nonchalant she is.
I know, right?
We're like, yeah, it was bad. See, that's that living outside America. That's what.
Yeah.
Well, because of the travel that I do, I did eventually have to take the I had to take the vaccine because some of the countries that we were traveling to, it did require it, but I chose another vaccine other than the American vaccines. So, and some of the people when I went to get my shots, they were like, "You're from America. Why would you choose a vaccine from outside of America?" It's like, I have my reasons. Yeah, I have my reasons. And thank goodness, of course, I've not gotten COVID. So
unlike me, who got vaccinated and I got COVID.
Yeah.
What's the point? Why did I do this?
It's like, why are these people having booster after booster after booster? And it obviously doesn't seem to be working.
I refused the booster. I said, I'm not doing this no more. I got the vaccine. It didn't work. I still got COVID. I am not getting a booster. Sorry.
This little China vaccine seemed to work. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's one thing I'm all for, free choice. And this is not about vaccinations or anything, but, just having the choice, right? But yeah, for many people, it really wasn't a choice. You had a choice, but then there's all these consequences if you didn't do it.
Yeah. I mean, there were even some employers who were saying, if you can't come to work, if you don't do it, or people in healthcare, of course, had to do it.
Yep.
Ice Cube lost a lot of money because he didn't want to do it. Millions.
It's crazy. I mean, yeah, the whole thing was crazy. And even now there's places you go to and they're like, "Oh, we want to see your vaccination card." And I'm like, "For what? You still get it. That proves nothing."
Yeah, exactly.
Like, what is the point? Anyway.
Onward. We should go.
No, I think that's really awesome. And also the thing that I wanted to say, I think is really interesting. You started a social club. So that social club didn't start out as a traveling club. It was just a get together.
Yeah. So let me talk about that a little bit. So back in let's see, maybe 2013, I was living in Maryland at the time. And I noticed that a lot of my friends and even my sisters, they were becoming empty nesters. And especially for my sisters, they've always been known as Trey's mom or Kalisha's mom or, something like that. And I thought, what are they going to do now that they're not known as anybody's mom and their kids are going off to college or going to work or military? what is their life going to be like? So I started asking them, and I said, what are you going to do now? And they would say things like, I'm going to do the things that I put on hold while I was raising a family. And I'm like, all of my friends and all of my relatives that I would ask this question who are becoming empty nesters were saying this. And I thought, well, wow, like, what are those things that you put on hold? And why, how are you going to execute that? So they would say things like, I want to travel. I want to, some were saying I want to go back to school. Some were saying I want continuing education. Some were saying, I just want to have a social life again. So I thought, well, let's create that social life. I have always been a proponent of self-care. Just as a single woman, I can remember, or even growing up, I can remember seeing my mom. She had 5 kids and my parents separated for 12 years. And she never really practiced self-care. She always made sure her kids were taken care of, but she never practiced self-care as the way I thought, she should. And then I would look at my sisters who both have 4 kids each. And I was like, I even took them on vacation sometimes because I thought they're always with their kids, it was like, when are you going to have some me time? So I created the social group, started with one little club in Nashville, Tennessee, after I relocated back from Maryland, and started the social group. And then from there, it expanded to 13 groups around the country. And women would get together for everything from sip and paints, makeup and mimosa parties, concerts, plays, comedy shows, operas, sporting events, weekend getaways, day trips, wineries. We did everything. I mean, these women were having a ball. And to me, that's social self-care because it gives the women opportunity to be able to connect with other women they probably wouldn't have been able to connect with. I'd love to hear women say, I really wanted to come to this, but I would have never come by myself. And so it provided an avenue for women to practice social self-care and to, have some me time. And so one of the things that came up during that was that they really wanted to travel. And I just happened to be a travel agency owner. So I thought, really, you want to travel now, do you? So I started putting trips together. First trip we did was to a local trip, a domestic trip. We went to the Serena Williams run in Miami, and we had about 25 women with that. And then they said they wanted to travel internationally. So our first trip was to Dubai. It was 55 women that went to Dubai. And from there, it just grew, and people would tell their friends, and it just grew into something that was amazing, of course, up until the pandemic. But it was just a really good time for women to get together, and women who had never traveled before, who had always wanted to travel, would just thank me and say, you know what, I've always wanted to do this. My husband doesn't want to travel, or, my kids don't have time anymore. So it was just a great time for women to get together and have good social time.
Well, I'm a strong proponent of self-care. I teach about self-care for many, many years now. And, what I love, like we talk about in business, like really it's all about finding a need and filling that need. And that's really what you did. You saw that this is what women were experiencing, what they were going through. And it's like, you know what, I can be the solution for that. And listening to what they wanted and then just implementing what it was that they were asking for.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's great entrepreneurship.
Yeah, I know, right? I know. Someone was always said, you know what, find a problem that you can solve and you'll never be broke. So I won't say I'm a millionaire because of that, but we had some great times. It was really fun. And then women would later come to me and we'd do surveys and so forth and ask, where do you want to go? So that has led us again to visiting over 35 different countries. And it's been amazing. It's been amazing. You meet wonderful women along the way. They later have, we do a roommate match, and we've had women who have come back on trips time and time again because they met someone that they travel with later. So it's been really nice because you see friendships forming and people who become friends. I'll see them on Facebook and they're traveling, going somewhere like, hey, I'm going over to my friend's house for Christmas or, that kind of thing. It's been really nice because it really provides the women an opportunity to form friendships that they probably would not have had. I think that's really important, even at our age, to have good good friends, social connection, and a support system.
Yes. And I love that you focus on as women over 40, right?
Absolutely, women over 40. Because at that time, at that time I was 50, right? So it's been some years ago, but but yeah, I thought it was really important. Of course, again, I don't have kids, so maybe it was a little bit selfish in there. I wasn't really interested in traveling with a bunch of younger people, but I
That's
also
real.
thought it would provide, yeah, I also thought it would provide an avenue for, a woman wants to go on a trip and have a nice getaway at her age, but she doesn't want someone that's her daughter's age there with her, hanging out with her. So yeah, we did it for women over 40, and it's worked out. It's been a great, like I said, way for women to get together who have commonality with different things.
I love that. That's so cool.
Mhm.
I really do. So what are some of the other places that you've been able to travel to? We've talked a lot
Oh my
about
gosh.
Asia, but where else have you been? I know you mentioned
Yeah.
some of them, but where are your like favorite?
Yeah. Yeah. So I think probably my top 5 places, if I had to say, um, one would be, I think everybody's favorite, if they've ever been, is Greece. Greece is amazing. It's just a beautiful place. I'm all about any place where there's water and sun. I'm happy. That's a happy place. And anytime, my experience has been, anytime you can get women around water and sun, it's a happy experience for them as well. So some of our best trips have been to Greece, of course. Thailand has been an amazing destination. Phuket, Thailand is absolutely beautiful. So that's on the list. South Africa, we're just launching a trip that's going there. South Africa, Cape Town is beautiful, just beautiful. And we have a lot of women who love the safari. Let's see. Um, Not necessarily a beautiful place, but we have had such a spiritual experience traveling to this country, Ghana. I happen to have not just do the touristy stuff, but I arrange travel where we actually go to a local village and actually meet the village women and have ceremony with them. I was actually named Queen Mother of Development to help bring commerce to their village. And so we go there, and in that village, they have it's a waterfall that you have to climb a 30-minute walk trek to. And just for women to be in nature like that, I mean, you have some women complaining about bugs, whatever. Once they get to the top and see the beautiful waterfall, it's different than going to see like a historical site. I like to put a little mixture into my travel. So it's not just something that's, oh, you go see the tourist sites. I like to take women off the beaten path, right? And so doing that, taking them up to the Wali waterfall has just been an amazing experience. And it says a lot to me when I see women cry, like just happy tears, like, oh, I can't believe this. So talking to one of the ladies who had traveled to Ghana with us, and she's getting ready to come here to Egypt. And she said, Ghana has still been my best trip forever.
Wow.
Like she said, I've been to many places, but Ghana is still my best trip. And I never get tagged on any trip more than the trips when we have gone to Ghana. It's just been an amazing experience. And then let's see, 5 would be, oh my gosh, where? I don't know. I don't know if I can name a 5, but those are the top 4. Those are the top 4 places that come to mind that people really, really love. But we've been everywhere. We don't really do the Caribbean because I think the Caribbean is just that place where people can just kind of, plan on their own and do something, a quick trip for the weekend or a week trip. But we've been everywhere from Russia to Thailand to, let's see, Morocco, Egypt, Ghana, South Africa, Zimbabwe. And we did that whole southern part of South Africa where we did Zambia, Zimbabwe, Swaziland, South Africa, all in kind of one trip, which is just really amazing because for people to really get to see the culture the first time in the motherland, the experience. It's wonderful to see women appreciate something that you created, and they go, it's just such an amazing time. I love hearing women say that when they're traveling. So we really haven't been to many European countries.
I was waiting. I was like, no, I'm not here in Europe.
We do have some trips coming up, going to London and Paris, but I just thought, no, we need more cultural travel. So I love, being on the motherland and that kind of thing. But we have a trip coming up. We're going to Peru and Argentina and Brazil all in one trip, and doing the wonders of South America, coming up at the latter part of next year. But let's see. Yeah, we've been some places. It's not all coming to my mind right now, but we've been places.
I love it. I think the other thing that's fascinating about your story is that you moved, like you said, you're in your 50s. So you moved when you were in your 50s.
Yes, I was 54 when at the time. So you do the math, 3 years later.
So what do you have to say to the women who might think they're too old, right? Or this is not something they can make this life change at this point in their life? Because like for you, it sounds like this is retirement.
Well, I don't even use that word, but
what we would consider, right?
Okay. I guess I'm one of those people, my life has been a little bit different, probably, I think, than most women, because most of my adult life, I've been single. So I don't think of most people go, well, I really can't do that. I was talking, there's two ladies here now who just, we did a hot air balloon this morning, and this is their third trip with me being here. And they were like, they were here in Luxor where I live. And one of the ladies, the daughter, said, I really could live here if it wasn't for my kids. And I was like, I in my mind, I don't get, you're an adult woman, that your kids have left the house and you're still thinking for your children. Now, again, my experience is totally different. So that might be just natural. I don't know. But I couldn't think of limiting myself on what I really wanted to do in life after I've raised my kids. If I don't know. I just don't think like that as a single woman who's been single most of my adult life. So, I just say to women, the sky's the limit. There's nothing that stops you from doing anything. Like, I do things and people go, like someone said to me when I was home just recently, you're going back to Egypt? Like, when are you going to really settle down? She said, when are you going to really settle down? She goes, you're getting older, and there has to be a point when you just come back here and stay. And I was like, I looked at her and I was like, are you really? Are you serious? What does age have to do?
So she thought you were on an
live?
extended vacation, and eventually your vacation needs to end and you need to come back.
I guess. She goes, what are you doing? It's like, I'm living my life. That's what I'm doing. I'm living with no regrets, and I'm doing it exactly the way I want to do it. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. And so I was talking to a girl the other day. I'm planning a trip for her to Dubai, and she goes, you just gave me life to let me know that you didn't know anybody in Egypt when you move, and I'm just trying to move to Charlotte and start my massage business. And she goes, you just gave me life. And I was like, maybe other people just need to feed off of other people's story, and maybe hearing other people's story does give them encouragement to let them know. I'm in an expat group for women over 60. And I love reading in there those women who are, hey, I think next year I'm going to pull the trigger and move to, Panama or Costa Rica. Or I think it's wonderful. I just think there is no age limit to things that you want to do. So live your life.
That's it. That's what this is all about. But Jessica, what do you have to say about that? As a mom of 6 kids, right? Like that. Ooh. I mean, that's real. Like, for your adult children, not the children still in the house, but the adult children.
The adult children that are still in the house. So I mean, that's the thing is that like that part, right? And then you also kind of feel, I mean, as she was saying that, it's funny because I didn't think of myself. I thought of my mom. And my mom is that person that is like, but my kids are here.
Yes.
Right. Even I told my mom, like, I was like, at one point we were looking at moving to Mexico. And I was like, oh yeah, because I was telling my husband, like, we've been doing this show now for a while. And I was just talking to my husband. And then of course he had to hear it from another man. But anyway, a guy told him about he was building a house in Mexico. And he's like, oh, we should look at Mexico. Like, so we were looking and I was telling my mom, oh yeah, we really found some nice places. And she was just like, but you gonna leave me? How can you just move away from me? I'm getting older. And I was like, look, just because you want to stay here, like, all right, and we'll Zoom. But there is this need that you feel like you birth this human, and now this human is forever until the end of days, dependent upon you, and you have to be there, right? And so funny enough, I just had this conversation with my sister, and she was like, she grown, you did a lot of sacrificing. So it's a real thing. And to your point, you just have to hear stories, you have to see that it's possible. And then it also, there's a narrative that needs to shift for Black women. What that means to community and family.
Conversely, I just finished a trip with some ladies. We went to Dubai and they came here to Egypt after. And I was shocked to hear them say things like, well, I need to ask my daughter, can I do that? Or I need to ask my son, can I do that? And I was like, oh, what? Like that whole group of ladies, they sought their kids for advice. And I was like, wow, that's a different shift I haven't seen before, but.
Oh, wait till you see these new ones that's coming out. They've been raised by social media. Girl. Anyway,
like I cannot relate. But I think that's a very interesting thing. And I'm thinking about, this podcast and most of the women that we've interviewed. And I think the majority have been single. Just get up and go. And that's my reality. I can do whatever I want. So I don't have to answer to anybody, but I do think it is different when you are a mother, when you are a wife, you're in a long-term committed relationship, what that looks like, your own personal freedom.
Freedom isn't yours. I agree with that. To a certain extent. It really isn't. It's kind of like you have this obligation and responsibility to these other humans. And some of them you feel responsible for because you made them, right? You created them. But to your point, at a certain point, that has to, at a certain point, it's like, yes, I made you. And it's funny, there's this thing that's going around, even TikTok. I didn't ask to be here. My parents had me and I didn't ask to be here. And so I was like, none of us did. Like, so for you to say you didn't ask to be here.
I was about to say, I didn't ask to be here either.
How this goes, if you're a believer in things above or whatever you believe in, you're put here for a reason, to live out that reason, right? So you don't get to then put that back on your parents. But anyway,
that's hilarious.
All of that to say, girl, whole thing. But I say all of that to say is that when we're born and when we're placed here, and then when you become a parent, there's this new level of obligation and responsibility that you feel like you have, and that can be an illusion to a certain extent. But telling me, we're not doing that one. But I get relationships like that. I see where that could happen, and roles can shift.
Yeah, I think that definitely, I think is something to be explored, particularly for women who are mothers, and like you, and one of the interviews that we did that actually got several comments. Barbara, who has children and left her children And there was some comments about that I was like, I think I'm gonna delete this because y'all are going in. And this is a lot of judgment, and you don't know her. But there is that narrative, like these are your kids, and you're supposed to be there and sacrifice and struggle and all of this for your children. So your life has to be put on hold. And when you do decide as a mother to not put your life on hold, to live your life and say, I have done my job and I have done a great job. And, I'm doing what's best for me, and what's best for me actually is what's best for my children, because I'm a better mother. There definitely is some feedback about that.
Yeah. I go by the notion, what can be done, what one can do can be done by, many others. And I see blogs all the time of single women who have taken their children and live internationally. I think that is so commendable. That's a person who was determined not to let anything stop her. I remember meeting one woman, I think she had like 3 kids, and she said, I don't want to raise my kids in the US culture. It's just not, I don't want to raise them in the school system. I don't want them to be exposed to the violence. And so again, once you know that it can be done,
yes,
I think that's motivation for a lot of people.
Yes.
Yeah, we'll move on, but I do want to say we just posted a reel on our Instagram of a family, wife, husband, and I think they have 2 or 3 children, and that's exactly what they said.
Yeah,
we do not want to raise our children in America. We decided to pick up and leave and just go. And they thought we're so much happier, because she was saying the cultural experiences, the fact that they can wake up and be in a completely different place and see camels and experience actual animals instead of just seeing them in books.
Yeah.
Yep. That's real. No, I love it. And you're absolutely right. And that's really why we do this show, because we want, it's not even about, leaving America, right? Like, even though that's the name, it really is about living life on your own terms. And
exactly.
Getting that clarity and figuring out what's best for you, and then doing it, whatever that looks like. And so one woman we interviewed, like, she started out by visiting, multiple different states in America. So she hadn't even left. She just went to different states and said, I want to try living here, and I want to try visiting here. And that's an option too. But I think that anybody in their life who's not happy, or not even about not being happy, but want to be happier, there are other things that you want to do, having the courage to explore that and actually doing it. And so that's why I brought up your age. Some of us, we, about our age, but I think that's really commendable, to be in your 50s and say, you know what, I can leave. Like, I'm still living, my life still matters,
exactly,
and important. And there's still things that I want to do. And I know there's a lot of women out there who will be watching this and say, you know what, I'm too old, or I'm too this and I'm too that, and I can't do it. And to hear your story, be like, well, you know what? Why can't I? Why can't I?
Yeah, exactly.
That is so exactly. Big facts. I want to go back to something you said earlier. You said that when you touched down, you just felt like it was home. Can you explain that a little bit more, like what the feeling was, or what exactly kind of felt like home?
So I'll explain it like this. It was like, woo. No, I'm just kidding.
It was, I was gonna say, oh my gosh, really? No, look, I'm gullible. You can't just say something to me. I'll take it and just full on run with it. Like, oh, for real?
No, I don't. When I use the word, it felt familiar. I don't even know. It just felt comfortable. I guess I'll say that it felt comfortable. It felt like, I can only say it felt like home. Like, I was looking around and I saw all the people, everybody was smiling. Nobody was angry or rolling their eyes or being mean to anybody else. And it just felt refreshing. It felt warm, comfortable. I don't know how to explain it.
That's just, like you've been there before. Like there was some connection to, like,
I wonder that. I don't say I've really felt that experience, that I've been here before, but when I say familiar, it just felt like, maybe in some kind of way it did. I don't know if I can put it into words exactly, but I feel very comfortable and at home here. I can just say that, like, everybody treats you like your family, like everybody. I'll share the experience. Once my bicycle broke down, which is something like we'll get into that maybe later, but women aren't supposed to ride bikes here if you're, if you're of the Islam faith. And I, of course, one of the things that I wanted to do was just make sure I stayed physically active for the sake of my lymphedema. And my bicycle broke down one day. I had a flat, and literally, whether the man was on a donkey or a horse or riding a motorbike or in a car or a van, every single man, probably 200 cars, because I sat there for some hours just like, oh, I'll get it fixed eventually. Every single man asked me if I needed help. Every single man asked me if I needed help. I thought that was just amazing. Like, my sister, my cousin, are you okay? And I was like, yeah, I have a flat. Can I help you? It's like, no, it's okay. I'll get it fixed. And I don't know why I just decided to chill there for a moment, but I sat there probably for like 3 hours, and eventually someone stopped, and I was like, okay, I think I'll let him help me. But it wasn't that I felt uncomfortable with any of the people. It's like, no, let's just see how this experience is, and just let me soak this up. Like, people really care enough to stop and ask you for help. That kind of thing. It was just incomparable to me.
For
Just
3 hours,
a great feeling.
3
Yeah,
hours.
I just sat there.
This speaks of values. Let me tell you why this speaks volumes. Okay. Let me ride a bike down the street by myself. I'm probably, if the bike gets a flat about 10 minutes in, I'm going to look at the bike, take it in, pick up the bike, and then go, okay, somebody need to fix this. I need to go home. Okay.
Right.
Now,
you're going to be stressed out because you got things to do.
There we go. I was just about to say that. Now, I got stuff to do later on, so I'm already like, oh, dang. Okay. So then let 2 people go by and be like, hey, you need help? I'm going to look at the dude and be like, yeah, nah. Second one, yeah, oh, no. All right. Third one, I'm going to get irritated and irritable. Mm-hmm. You sat for 3 hours and had people come back. I would have been so irritated and irritable that I wouldn't even have been able to like take it in. So that's what I wanted to point out. Like,
no,
wow.
That's deep. Like, she had 3 hours to just sit there and be okay.
Yeah, it was. You know what? I live in a tourist town. It was near one of the temples. It was really outside one of the temples, so a lot of traffic goes by. And I thought, well, it'll just be cool to sit here and just wait and see what happens. I'm not in any rush, so I have a designated time every morning that I exercise. So yeah, I was like,
you're not in any rush. That's the point. We live in a rush here. Everything is a rush.
Right. Yes. I agree with you.
My thought would have been, I got to hurry up and try to fix this because let me hurry up. It's a
laid back life here where I live. Very laid back. It's so refreshing.
So how do you think it's helped you talked about your health. How has your health been impacted?
Well, so not being here, first of all, the quality of food is so different, right? Not to also forget that there's not a lot of junk food here. So making unhealthy food choices is not really an option. Everything that I go to the market several times a week to get fresh food because even though we're in a desert country, agriculture here is probably the second biggest commerce here. And so everybody has a farm and they grow fruits and vegetables and they take it to the market. And so just having changed my diet to a more healthier diet, not that I was still trying to eat healthy in America, but the kind of food that you can get here, I went back to America and the food was like one orange was 93 cents for one orange. Here I can get 2 kilos or 2.5 pounds of oranges, 2.25 pounds of oranges for that same price. So that helped a lot with weight loss because with lymphedema, you gain weight terribly with it. So one of the things I wanted to do was get here to exercise so I could lose this weight. And within the first 6 months, I lost 62 pounds.
Wow. So just from walking,
Culmination,
moving around.
culmination of drinking more water because it's hot as heck here. Drinking more water, better food selection, and making a conscious effort to get at least 5 miles in a day, whether it's walking or by bike. Helped me tremendously. However, and kept that off. It was not a big deal. I did go back home to America this year, and I stayed an extended time because my brother was terminally ill. And in 10 months, it found its way back. So I have a lot of work to do now that I'm back.
10
you
months.
can make some very unhealthy choice. 10 months. Yeah, you can make some. Well, I probably gained about 45 pounds. But again, you have to understand a lot of that's inflammation from the food I was eating and the swelling. So yeah, it's a yo-yo with lymphedema. So.
And what about the healthcare? Because you did mention that it was not American healthcare. How does the healthcare differ?
So thankfully, knock on wood, I really haven't had to experience that myself. I can tell you that dental care here is phenomenal in that I had a couple of fillings that he needed to have done, and it was $19 for a tooth filling. Isn't that amazing? $19 for a tooth filling.
That's crazy.
Yeah. I've had to go like for a cold or something. I've had to go just for a doctor's visit, and it was let's see, 300 Egyptian pounds is probably less than $15 for a doctor's office visit. So one of the things that's different here though is a lot of the medicine that you get that requires a prescription in America, you can just buy it here. So a lot of people don't really go to the doctor because they can just go to the pharmacist and tell them what their symptoms are and get medicine for that. Right. So in America, I had to get a prescription for my Lasix, for my lymphedema. Here, I just go to the doctor. I mean, here I just go to the pharmacy and show them that I don't even have to show them anything. Just tell them that I want some Lasix and I get it. So it's very different here because people use antibiotics like it's a miracle drug. But I really haven't had to experience it that much here at all. Just gone for a doctor visit and to the dentist.
Wow.
But it's very different, though. I do know that they do have a list of clinics and facilities that you can go to, and as an American, that they recommend from the embassy. So I keep that list with me at all times when I travel throughout Egypt. But I really haven't had to experience it. But I hear people say in the expat groups that it is very different.
Yeah, most places are. I mean, yeah. That's a whole thing. I was just in a conversation with somebody who got a new job, and they were talking about how expensive. I mean, the health insurance for 2 people, it was like $800 a month, and I was like, but you have a job. Like, why does it cost that much through your job? And what about some people who don't make a lot of money, who can't afford, and it was only one plan. So they didn't have, at least when I had a job way back in the day, you had options. So you could choose they didn't have an option. It was like, this is the plan and this is how much it costs. And that depended on the number of people. So I'm like, if you're in a service, part of that job where they're not making as much money, that's like your whole paycheck trying to pay for insurance.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, they could never be here because most people don't even make $800 a month. So they couldn't be here in Egypt.
There's that.
That's a great segue to my next question, though. How much is like your rental, and then how are you taking care of your housing? What did you do for that?
Very good question. So the cost of living here in Egypt is, oh my gosh, very nice compared to America. As I said, my house payment a month in America, went outside of Atlanta, was $2,000 before I left, and the cost of living here is insane. Before I left to go home this time, I was in a 3-bedroom one bath apartment, brand new, that was directly behind the Nile River. I looked outside, the Nile was right there. And typically here, as an expat, you rent something that's furnished. And so I did. That was about $450 a month. And it included cable, internet, electricity, gas, and water. Isn't that nice?
I think you're I know people who live in Egypt, but I haven't like extensively talked to them. So I think you're the first person that I'm hearing the cost of living, because usually most people, when they think Egypt, they think tourism, they think going to see the pyramids and things like that. So you don't know a lot of people that actually live in Egypt. So I had no idea it was that inexpensive.
Yeah, because they ain't trying to tell. They're like, y'all don't want to come out here. You don't want to come.
Well, I don't live in Cairo. Cairo's a little bit different. I am looking for something right now in Cairo, and it's probably about $700-800 a month. The Egyptian pound has, I know, right? The Egyptian pound has been devalued here, so even now your dollar stretches a very long way. But that's one of the things that I was looking for also when I considered where I would move, is I was looking for a place that had very low crime. I was looking at a place that had very low cost of living. And those two factors were big for me. And so I didn't know that Egypt had, low cost of living until I started exploring it. Definitely was also looking for a place that had some kind of gun control. Yeah, that was friendly, as I said, a good quality of life, and it checked all the bucket lists for that. So
I feel like we should possibly, like in the future, Laura, we need to get these women to send us video of where they are. Like,
yes, that's true. That's a good point.
Just the area of like where,
oh yeah,
either you've
so we can see it.
Live, right? We don't want your actual address, right? We don't want to, but but just to show.
Well, don't worry, they don't have one anyway.
Okay.
I was about to say it's different. Yeah, the mailing.
So what is it, like row 2? Like what is? How do you?
Yeah, that's two of the things that I found very strange here that were minuses for me was they don't have a formal garbage sanitation system here in this country, and they don't have a mail system here in the country either. So it makes it kind of difficult to get mail. Like many of the streets don't even have names, right? So they don't have a formal mail system here. So, huh?
How do people find? Look, I'm all like, we're all Google Maps ways. How do people find you? Turn here, make a left at that store, make it.
Yeah, the crow that sits on that tree.
Landmarks, really. So when they have Amazon here now, and you can order COD here, right? So when Amazon comes, they'll call you and you'll have to tell them where you are. But normally, most of the streets, they've named it. Some of the streets have names, but not all of them have names. So yeah, it's a little bit challenging for that. It's different.
Okay, so how does the sanitation system work then? Like, what does that mean exactly?
So there are, for example, on my street where I am currently, there are the little garbage bins. There's 2 of them on my street. But for the most part, very early in the morning, I'll find myself coughing and choking because someone somewhere is burning their trash. Yeah. But when I first got here, I was with some friends out walking, you guys, and I'd see people do this. They just like open something in a wrapper and just throw it. And I was like, what? Did you just throw trash on the ground? And then I looked on the ground. It's like, that's what everybody does because there's trash everywhere. That's unfortunately.
Yeah.
So I went to look. I took 2 of the ladies that are here visiting out today on a carriage ride to view the city, and there was trash just everywhere. And they were like, well, what is this trash from? It's like, because there's no garbage sanitation system. There's not one formal. So trash is a big deal here.
Sanitation systems as far as like am I saying that right? For like when you go to use the restroom, like sanitation.
Oh,
You
Oh
you
go
yeah,
mean
to
the
for
the
sure.
restroom,
trash
there's
in the
actual sanitation.
bathrooms, in
No,
What was that,
offices?
Ava?
So you
no,
mean like in offices or restaurants or
no. What I'm
things
saying
like
is
that?
that the actual plumbing, like there's actual plumbing
Oh, yeah,
Oh
yeah,
systems.
sure,
yeah.
yes,
Okay,
yes,
okay.
No, she's talking about
yes. Oh,
collecting
that's
the
for sure.
trash.
No, so when you say san, I'm thinking. I'm like,
No, I
okay, so
said
when you
garbage sanitation,
not the got it.
not sewage
So people
system.
just
Yeah.
throw their trash.
Sewage
So they
system.
take their trash from their house and they just throw it outside.
Yes. It
No,
just blows my mind. I
no.
cannot believe people really do that. There's some neighborhoods where you just see bags and bags of trash. It's like, oh my, like, don't you have pride enough in your own area where you live not to do this? But yeah, yeah.
That is so interesting.
Oh, there's
I've
this is
seen it before, so I know, but
we
no.
like I'm very much stuck on this part. Like what? So
I,
are they
like
taking?
that was India to me. Like it was, and I loved India, but I mean, there was trash everywhere. Like I said, there's people literally sleeping on the streets. I mean,
Well,
that's
and the
where
reason that's such a big deal is because for us as Americans, I mean, you get fined for littering, right? So yeah, when you see just people just throwing stuff on the street, yeah, it's
it's
shocking.
disturbing.
It
It's
was for me. It's like,
disturbing.
wait a minute, that person just threw the wrapper on the ground. Yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure.
Wow, you learned something new. I didn't know that. I'm like, no, that just turned me all off. I'm down.
But you know what? What's funny about that is, despite that, right? Despite the fact that they're throwing trash, she's still not coming back to America. So that says a lot. Just saying.
Mhm. You know, the
Well,
biggest thing that really I love
that was
about
not
being
on the
here.
list. That was not the important part to me. I get
Right,
it. I
right.
understand.
Well, I do want to add this. That also breeds. There are lots of flies here because of that, and they keep animals on the street, cats and dogs, uh, to kind of work through all that, right? So, yeah.
Lord's-
I'm like the poor animals. Oh my God.
She did
Look,
not say poor animals. That face did not say poor animals.
Mm.
you know how we are in America. I don't even have pets. Like we're a mess when it comes to our pets. We treat our pets better than people. But anyway, that's another story.
That's true.
Oh
So
my goodness.
moving on, because I don't like animals either. So moving on. Um, so when you got to Egypt, you were like, "Oh my gosh, this feels amazing." You see trash all over the place. You're like, "It's still amazing. I don't care." And so as you kind of move forward with this journey, and even the women that you're bringing there, right? Like the fact that you've said two different places, two different things I want to do. I'm like, okay, so I know who to call when I'm ready to get out here and do all these things, right? You're like hot air balloon and something, or was it hot air balloon? You said something.
Mhm,
Yeah, hot
Yeah.
air balloon. And so when you have women that come and they experience these things, and you said that gives you kind of joy and all of that good stuff. What I mean, like, what's next for you after this? What else do you want to
That's a good
do?
question.
Haven't
That's a
done.
good question. So here's what I discovered being here. Well, even before I got here, we had on our trips to Egypt, we had a sail on the Nile, and you can't come to Egypt without seeing the pyramids. But one of the things I added into the trips were opportunities to go to the Red Sea, to the beach. And one of the things that I noticed was just the stark difference in the personality of the women and their comportment once they got to the beach. They were like totally different. It's a different thing to be on a tour and you have to be up by a certain time, you have to be here by a certain time. But just that time to relax really provided an opportunity for me to see women in a totally different light. and they were able to express themselves in a different way because they were relaxing on the beach, and you heard a lot of laughter and more smiles. And I thought, wow, I should have been doing this a long time ago. Because sometimes women are, kind of tense when it comes to, tours and, a group of 20 women traipsing across the country. But the change that I saw in the women when they were at the beach was just such a stark difference. I thought, I'd always thought about, I'm a certified retreat specialist in travel. And I thought, I always wanted to do retreats, but I always thought, oh, maybe that's too frou-frou and women won't really appreciate that. But the more I delved into the whole self-care part of what I did and was trained as a women's circle facilitator, I thought, wouldn't it be really nice to help women not just see a beautiful part of the world, but to really woosah and let their hair down and really relax and provide an opportunity for women to get together to have discussion around things that they're dealing with in their normal life. So one of the things that we're transitioning towards is, instead of doing more tours, we're going to be doing more women's retreats and partnering with amazing women to hey, Laura, to help do some of that work.
I love it. Okay.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Awesome. Yeah, so
I'm looking forward to it.
happening and some women connecting. That's amazing.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Absolutely. So I'm sure you all will hear more about that. We will definitely keep you abreast of that. But I have one more question like that Jessica likes to ask. So now you said it, several times, you're single. Are you dating in Egypt? And have you thought of that? And what is that like? Because knowing it is a Muslim country, you're not Muslim.
Yes.
Right. So how is
that? Right. Good question. So the thing about being in a Muslim country is that they have their own set of parameters around this whole thing. So it's kind of challenging because being in a Muslim country, Muslims don't really, quote unquote, date or go out, right? You see somebody and you marry them. So.
The family vets.
Family, yeah. A lot of arranged marriage, correct?
Not really arranged, but the family definitely is involved in the process.
Yeah, so I'll give you an example. There's a family here that I'm really, really close to. And one of the girls, she was 20 at the time. She went to a wedding and this gentleman saw her there. And the next day went back and asked her family, could he marry her? And she was just my little, almost like my little sister, right? And I was like, you're in school and you're 20 years old and you haven't even experienced life yet. Like, you're okay with this? And her family, I guess my family, I call them my family, they were looking at me like, how can you dissuade her from wanting to be married? But that's their culture, right? That's their culture. So she did end up finishing school. She dated him for a year and a half, or was engaged to him for a year and a half. And during that time, you do get to know the man. You just can't go out by yourself. But as an adult woman, how that works is, they have this thing here called, I can't believe I'm really telling this, but they have this thing here called an Orphe marriage. And an Orphe marriage allows you, it's a contract that you and the man sign together. And that allows you the opportunity to be in the same company with this man. You can be in the same house with him. Her face, it allows you to be in the same house with him while you get to know him, to know if you really want to be married. If you decide that you don't want to be, you two can he can say, I divorce you, I divorce you, I divorce you, and tear up these papers and you're fine. Like, the marriage is over. Both of you tear up the papers. And that's something that women use here, but instead of using it for that, they use it for like a weekend getaway. A weekend getaway.
They ain't gonna stay together.
Right. They use it for a weekend getaway. So or a nice weekend at the Red Sea with with a man at a resort. But a lot of the main hotels don't really accept that. But for me personally, you get marriage proposals literally every day. I had one, a 25-year-old, a 25-year-old asked me, and I said, "Sweetheart, I'm old enough to be your mom." Like, really? But that's just how it is. They'd rather just. I went and picked up some food 2 nights ago, and the guy said, "Are you married?" And I said, "No," and he says, "Will you marry me? I'm a chef. You can eat chicken every day." Wow, that's a perk. But that's just kind of how it works. You can't, like, right now I'm in temporary housing until I can find my own place, but like no guy could come here to see me. He could not come in as a Muslim man. If they were like somebody came to visit me from another country or from home, they could come visit me. But that's just how they do it. They just ask you to marry them on the spot. And you have to say no like several times a day. Like, no, I'm not interested in marrying you, but thank you.
So it's good for your self-esteem.
Yeah, exactly. If
y'all out here ain't got no marriage proposal. I got 10 today. Okay.
Right. But that's kind of how it works. But there are, there are ways to be able to say, like, it, I'm not really one for bringing somebody home to my house anyway, but I can see guys out. The coffee shops are everywhere here, so it's just a good kind of hangout spot here. But yeah, I do meet men, and I have explored my options. But there's a big divide here, though, because the average Egyptian man, I'll be very honest, the average Egyptian man probably makes less than $200 a month. And so, yeah.
Lord.
This is a conversation that we had in another episode where the woman was saying that the level of expectation, and that's even made me kind of rethink a lot of the ways I thought about men and women kind of being in relationship as well, because I think there's this expectation when you come from America that the man is supposed to take care of everything. And that's not to say that that's right or wrong, right? But the man should take care of everything. So you don't have anything to offer me if you don't have a high paying job, Where she was saying that she had asked the guy, like, what can you offer me? You ain't got nothing. He was like, I can offer you love. I can offer you that I'll be there for you. I can offer you. So there's so many other things that he was saying. I can offer you companionship, and all the other things. I can cook for you. I think she said something like that. I can't remember everything she said, but other things that are equivalent to, I only got, and if you're living outside the country, then you don't need $50 billion, right? It's like you need enough to pay for the stuff that you need to live and make sure you get. Do you have a masseuse? That too. Like, that's part 2 of that question. Is if you have a masseuse, because she was saying that was
It's true. It's true.
Well,
but I think okay. So now because I'm thinking of Islam, right? So I'm thinking it would be a little different there, because Muslim men are supposed to take care of their wives.
There you go. Yes, that is their responsibility.
Provide, and they're not making that much money. How does that work? You're making more money.
Yeah. So and to be very frank with you, in most of the cases that I've seen personally here in the country, the woman ends up being the breadwinner. And you kind of have this thing where you go out in public, and when it's time to pay, she either gives him the money before they go to the restaurant, or she slips it to him, and so that amongst his peers, if they're looking, or people in the restaurant, the other men, he's paying for it. But there's a very big culture here of many of the women, especially European women, come here and marry the Egyptian men. And they expect them they marry them with the anticipation that this woman is going to elevate me. She's going to buy me this and buy me that, because he has a family, right? That Muslim men can have more than one wife. So he has a family that he's providing for, that these women are giving money, and he's just taking it back home. And I was like, I didn't come all the way to another part of the world to give my money to some man so that he could go give it to his family. Like,
First of all, that is not correct.
Right.
Correct. I love how people cherry pick and they choose what they want to implement and what they don't. You can have 4 wives if you can take care of your 4 wives
of them
and take care of them all in the same capacity.
Agreed.
So if you can't afford them, you can't have them.
It is a culture here, a very strong culture here, especially in this city, pretty much. And you have women
I can't do it.
70s, 60s, and 70s, some in their 50s who marry guys 20 years younger, and they will come here. They'll buy him a car. There's a lady here that I know personally. She's an American Black woman that bought her guy a car, a van, a boat. And someone said she's building him a house. She's in her 70s and the guy's 28 years old. So she just wanted companionship. She said she's never going back to America, and she just wanted the companionship. To each his own, but that is a big culture here. That they
do your job and then you get your payment. Okay, that's what we do. And I'll help you. Okay, hey.
There's so much to say, but I'm just gonna.
I know, right? Yeah,
I love it. It's like a built-in OnlyFans, like, and he real, like, he ain't gotta be fake, like, he real built-in OnlyFans, and he right there. All I gotta do is go ring ring. All right, oh no.
Yeah, I couldn't be in a place where the expectation is I'm gonna be the sugar mama, because that's just not happening. Because I don't care how much money I have. That's just not happening.
Yeah, that's what I said. It was like, I don't think I came here. First of all, the educational level is much different here. They're not as educated. So I thought, well, if I would do something like that, I would have stayed in America and married somebody that I can at least have a good conversation with. I'm not going to come on the other side of the world and then start taking care of a man who then goes and takes my money to take care of his other family. Oh,
I think he's going to be the head of the household. You can't have all of that both ways. Because I know you can't. Now you're the head and you get to tell me what to do and I'm paying for everything. No, we got a problem.
And these women,
here.
Then they're asking you to convert to their religion so that it makes life easier. And these women give all of this and they don't end up, say, for example, he dies. They don't get anything that they pay the money for. The family comes and takes it all. So it's challenging to date here in this country. But if you you could do it.
Single ladies, mark that off the list.
So ladies, if you're dating, if you want to be in a relationship, you come to Egypt and you visit and you have fun and you leave. Yeah.
You mean have fun?
She said have fun.
Companionship, fun, whatever you want to call it, but you ain't marrying.
Okay. Right.
Go out, Although you said the conversation's not that great, but some people don't care about conversation. I do, but some people don't.
I do.
Like you said, the 70-year-old woman, she don't seem to care. So
I don't know if I care about conversation. But I've been married for a long time. So as long as you can watch a movie with me, I think I would be good.
Oh, she says she's good with Netflix and chill. Okay.
Oh, companionship.
Yeah, and that's really what a lot of these women, I hear the story. Well, they're marrying for companionship. They're just wanting to be happy in their last years or, living out their last years, and they're okay with that.
Yeah.
Anna, no.
She's like, yeah, no. I got you.
I got options. I love it. Wow, that was enlightening. I feel like I've learned so much.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Black Women Leave America. Make sure that if you're gonna pick anyone to marry, don't go to you. No, but no, this has been an amazing interview. Yes, I've learned a lot. I don't think I've learned this much since the last time we learned about hostels, what they really meant. So
It's a new country. I love learning about new countries. So this was fun. Yeah. Yeah, that was good. That was good. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for being. What time is it? What's the time difference? So, because it's late for you, right?
Let's see. Right
I'm
now
just curious.
it's I don't know what. Oh wait. Oh, I don't know because I keep all of my clocks on American time. So
That's funny. That's so interesting.
I think it's like 4 something in the morning.
Oh, we gotta let you go.
Yes.
Yeah, it's okay.
We gotta let you go.
So if you're listening to this on YouTube, or if you're watching this on YouTube, please make sure that you subscribe to the YouTube channel, Black Women Leave America. If you're listening to this on Spotify or any of those other listening platforms, if we are in your ear right now, then make sure you also leave us a review. And if you're watching this on TikTok, duet this video. Let us know what you thought. Thank you so much for coming on to our guest. This was an amazing, amazing episode. Ava Laura, any last thoughts before we check out?
No, this was awesome. And I hope that for those of you watching, that you are inspired, right? This does give you inspiration to, at any point in time, however old you are, wherever you are in your life, to know that you can make a change and go ahead on and do it. And you have amazing mentors, right? Because a mentor is not somebody that you have to necessarily work with personally, right? It's just somebody who you're following and getting advice from. So you have amazing mentors that you can follow and learn from and live your best life. Would you say you living your best life? And you said something else that was really amazing. But really living life on your own terms. So thank you for showing us that, for sharing your story, for being here. And we appreciate you.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
All right, y'all. Until next time. Peace.